Hi, my name is Desmond. Today I'm going to show you how to use an old camera flash for special effects in videos and for automation in your photography. Now, all you basically need is an old flash. It will come in very handy if you have some wireless triggers, so you don't damage your camera system at any point. And I'm not going to open this up because there's enough energy in this capacitor here to kill you. But all I'm going to tell you is that you take off one wire off one side of the flash tube and you run it to the one side of your connection, and the other side you run to the other side of your connection. What I have here is a little bridge piece so that if I want to use it as a normal flash, it'll still work as a flash. So that just bypasses the cut in the wire. So as I say, if you don't know what you're doing, don't do this because that capacitor can kill you. Basically, there's a lot of energy in this capacitor in here, and all the flash does is it switches it with the flash tube and it just dumps all that energy, which creates that bright flash of light. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking that energy, I'm running it through here, then I take it and I run it through something else. For example, in the beginning shot that I did, there's this little solenoid here. Join that to the solenoid, and when the flash fires, the solenoid fires. And if you put something on top of that solenoid, it goes flying in the air. And it looks like you have actually shot it. If you time it right, you just got your trigger there, you push that trigger as you pull your trigger on your air rifle or whatever you're using, and the other wireless trigger fires the flash. I cover the front of the flash up so you can't see it going off. Sometimes I'll put it in this bag so it's really hidden. I could make a better enclosure, but I just made this one yesterday. It was a little bit too small. I wanted the flash to be able to fit inside it and hide it, but now I've got a light next to it because it's just too big. I need to modify it so the flash trigger can fit there as well. But there's a lot you can do with this besides trick shots like that. For example, I took an ignition coil at one stage and I wired it up, use the same two wires, hook them up through that flash, and when the flash fires, you've got a spark that fires. So you can actually, especially if you've got a CCD sensor or a global shutter, you can go to any speed you want, and as you take the picture, you get a spark. You take photographs of water droplets falling through a spark. At one stage, when I first invented this, I was using my Nikon D50, and I was looking at the patterns that the spark makes through sugar, and a fly walked in the way. I call it Schrodinger's fly because at 1/4000th of a second it's both alive and dead in the picture. But that's not the purpose to kill flies, although it's handy. There are other things you can do. I made a coil gun, and you put a bolt in the one end, water balloons or something like that, and you fire it. If you want to do high-speed photography like this, you can use the pre-flash from your camera's flash to trigger an optic sensor, which will fire this, and then when it takes the main exposure, you'll get the item that is hitting blowing up. And you can time this, and you can use rear curtain flash. So the pre-flash fires, if you want to do it in the dark, a 1 second exposure, and 1 second later the main flash fires. By this time the balloon's been blown to bits or whatever you're shooting at. There's so many things you can do with it, and it's when you start understanding the maths of how these systems work that you start being able to decide exactly what you're going to do with it and how you're going to accomplish this. So there's a coil gun. I tried to make a two-stage coil gun. I wanted a coil gun inside a coil gun, so we had the solenoid pulls in, throws the object forward, and then the magnetic field continues shooting it out. I still have to fine-tune that. But this is quite a solid chunk of metal here from I think a Delco Remy 40 or 42 MT starter motor. It's the solenoid for it. Takes quite a bit of energy to push that in. The energy in this little capacitor is enough to do that. You could put it underneath something and make it go flying into the air. You do better with a bigger flash. For example, this Nissan flash here, it's got a couple of big capacitors in the handle here. I added another capacitor to it in parallel with the existing capacitor, but the wires that come out here, these two wires are to add the extra capacitor. Those two are my bypass wires for a solenoid. So I haven't tried it yet, but you can imagine that firing through that solenoid there and throwing something into the air. But of course, you've got to be careful what you're doing, especially in New Zealand. You know, the last time I waved around an air rifle in an industrial area, the Armed Defender Squad turned up and took it away. But you can obviously just get some video of you loading the thing, putting it in, throw the pellet away, fire it off so that it's dead, so you know it's totally safe. Pull the trigger a few hundred times and then you do your test shot. And you can have these special effects. I just downloaded a gunfire of CapCut, and I added that into my video to make it look real. But there's just so many things you can do with it. Another thing that I did, I took 4 ignition coils, I wired up the coil switching circuit all in parallel through my trigger system, and then I took the coils all in series. So they're each capable of about 50,000 volts. There's 4 coils there. One's a double coil, so it's like 5 coils in series. So you've got 50,000 volts fires into one, adds 50,000. Got 250,000 volts where I can take some pictures and do interesting things. You get a spark that's sort of pretty big at 250,000 volts. And there's just all these possibilities that no one's ever really thought of doing before. And I just thought if I can share this and I can get more people to know how to do this and to implement it, there could be a lot more interesting photos out there. And for people trying to do videography, it's so handy, you know, just push a button and something jumps up in the air, or you could have that big solenoid under a glass bottle and you just point a gun at it and blow the bottle to smithereens and it looks like you've shot it. So just a short video for today, and I'm hoping that it'll inspire someone to go out there and do something different. Don't get into any trouble. I'll just let you know that I had something like this in New Zealand in the industrial area, and I'm busy shooting tin cans, and next thing I know there's 2 police cars there and 3 police in bulletproof vests, and I was just lucky I wasn't deported. So that's it for today, and go out there and do something constructive.